All right, guys, we're back with another interview. I have my guest here. Her name is B. She is an artist with schizophrenia and a musician. And today we're going to talk about her experience with schizophrenia. So, where did it all begin?
Um, well, the beginning is hard to tell. But I started doing art when I was about 9 or 10. Um, and I got diagnosed with schizophrenia at 17. I didn't get treatment until I was about 20. So I'm still kind of new to the treatment process and still learning more about it each day as I experience new things and experience the same things. Um, but yeah,
Do you remember what was the possible catalyst or when it started to happen or when you started noticing strange things that didn't usually happen before?
yes, I started noticing strange things probably around 14 or 15. Before that, I had mild symptoms. Like every now and then, I would kind of like hear something or see something. And then around 15 or 16, my symptoms got really, really bad.
So, how has art helped you with your experience?
Oh, art has helped me express myself and express how I'm feeling when I can't put it into words, because I have a hard time reading people and reading myself sometimes.
Mhm.
So when I put it into art, I can kind of look back on it and see, oh, that's how I was feeling. Or um, I can kind of like take my hallucinations and the things I see, and instead of them being these scary things that I see, they're just a painting on a canvas. And that's how I try to cope with it and tell myself, these cannot hurt me, and these are just paintings on a canvas.
Mhm. Do you remember your first drawing of the first hallucination you had?
Um, I didn't start drawing them until probably I was too scared to even talk about my experiences and symptoms for a really long time. I was scared that they could hurt me and that they would if I talked about them. So my first drawing was probably 2 years ago. Um, I do remember it. It was just a little tiny drawing, and I wrote, "I'm so scared" on it, and because that's how I felt.
So I remember on your videos on TikTok, you would talk about certain hallucinations that were really mean and nasty to you, and then you said there was one that was kind of nice to you named Isaac.
Yes.
And do you remember what Isaac looked like? I saw you drew Isaac a couple times, right?
Yes, I do. I do. He was very simple. He had brown hair. Most of his hair was like scribbles,
Hmm.
and his face was very clear, but he was very nice to me. Um, that was when I lived in Ohio for a while, and I had a room in my parents' basement. That was when probably my lowest point was. Um, I saw a little blue door on the wall, and I would hear people screaming coming out of it. And Isaac was there, and Isaac would talk to me, and he never really told me where he came from or why he was there, but it was really comforting. And for a while, I thought that he was a real person, and I used to tell him all the time, like, I wish I could hug you, and I wish that, I could keep you forever.
Hmm.
And, um, but I did finally accept that Isaac had to go away when I got treatment, um, and that he was not real.
And you said you saw a blue door, or you hallucinated a blue door, like on your wall or something?
Yes, I saw a
And
little blue door, and I heard people like screaming on the other side of it, like, let me out, let me out. And um, it was very scary. It was a very scary time for me because I felt like I couldn't talk to anybody about it.
hmm
I felt like um, what I was hearing could hurt me or hurt my family. And I just decided if I don't talk about it, maybe it'll go away.
What made you uncomfortable talking about your experience with other people?
Um, I really just didn't want I didn't want anyone to think that I something was wrong with me.
Hmm.
I didn't want to go somewhere like the hospital. Um, I really just wanted to feel normal and be normal. And I thought that if I just didn't tend to it or feed into it, that it would just go away on its own.
And has social media helped you with their experience? Because I notice a lot of other schizophrenic artists find each other and they're kind of seeing similar things, right? Like clowns and jesters, kind of like Exorad. I've interviewed him before a couple years ago,
Mhm.
or almost like 2 years ago. But he
Mhm.
draws things kind of similar to you. I remember one of your drawings, you drew like this blue jester character, and Exorad
Mhm.
would also draw these jester characters with protrusions from the head. So that's very
Yes,
interesting.
it is interesting. I have social media has really helped me more so than anything because I've made a lot of friends who also have schizophrenia because in real life I don't really know anyone who has schizophrenia. Um, so it really helps me feel less alone.
Mhm.
And of course, there's people who have kind words to say, and um, that's always so nice to know that people care.
That's awesome. Do you see like a wide variety of hallucinations? Like I've seen drawings you've done about clowns, jesters. I've seen some alien gray ones, and then I've seen the traditional like demonic ones that you would see in movies or stories. You see like a wide variety of things, or you've seen those before?
Yes, I do see a wide variety of things. Um, I went through a phase where I saw the red things that I painted. I think you've seen them.
Hmm.
Uh, I went through I don't know what to call it, but I saw these red creatures or like figures, faces, and some of them would be like distorted, some of them would be a little more clear, and those were really mean to me. They would call me nasty names, tell me I was dirty, and tell me that um, they were going to hurt me, and that was a really hard time. And I would paint them obsessively, just to try to get it out and try to I have an art room that I would just spend hours in just painting them, and um, I tried not to talk about it, but it was very scary to me, and to me it was real. So
Hmm. So like you would see like defining features and everything, like the colors that you draw.
Sometimes I would, and most of the time they would be like these flat
2D,
things.
like 2D cartoony sometimes almost.
Yes.
That's interesting. How would the clown characters react or act? Like, what was their personality like, if you do remember them?
I remember the blue one because during my red hallucination phase, I saw one blue one, and that was the clown. And he was very silly. Um, he would laugh a lot. Sometimes he would laugh at me, sometimes he would laugh with me. Um, so it was very hard to pinpoint a specific personality for them.
But they acted like your traditional clown, right? They were like
Yeah,
jokesters, tricksters. They were laughing. Were they ever mean by any chance?
the clown.
Yeah.
Um, no, not really. Um, the blue one was really nice. Um, for the most part, like I said, sometimes he would laugh at me, but he would never call me names like the other ones.
But the other ones were just a little bit more mean. They would say awful negative things. And would they try to get you to do negative things too?
Yes. back in about 2018, I did have my first hospital visit due to hearing voices telling me to harm myself or harm others.
Hmm.
And I just got really scared and I um, attempted to harm myself. So I went to the hospital and I ended up doing an outpatient program, but then the outpatient program didn't work. So I ended up going inpatient for the first time.
Hmm. So aside from the medications, what has really been helping you, like doing anything positive, listening to good music, going outside, talking to people? What has been the most helpful thing for you?
Um, the most helpful thing for me is probably painting, and I like to play guitar. Um, I like to listen to music.
Hmm.
Um, I just I like to distract myself. any any good distractions are really good. And I have noise canceling headphones that I can put on. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. So
And do you put those on when you sleep? Like, is it like white noise to kind of like block out the little sounds you would hear?
um, I keep the fan on, and sometimes I play rain sounds on the TV.
Hmm. Has going back to the clown characters, the one thing that I noticed that's really interesting, I have seen at least 4 or 5 schizophrenic artists that have seen, these types of entities. And then what's really fascinating to me is people who have messed with psychedelic drugs, like DMT or acid, they also have seen these similar clown-like characters. And to see Exorad describe him is the way others would describe him, the same personality traits, like goofy, always laughing. Sometimes they were really destructive, kind of like the Joker character from Batman, just super chaotic,
Mhm.
laughing, silly, goofy, and their looks were always the same. These like protrusions coming out of the head, wide grins. Sometimes they were faces, and he said they would sound like almost like little gremlins sometimes. Is that what you would hear when they would talk, or do you hear them in your own voice?
I do hear separate voices from my own voice. Sometimes I hear like um, a growl voice, and sometimes I hear like a childlike voice. Um, I think it does the childlike voices. I think it does stem from trauma. So I do try to be nice to them. I try to um, not call them names back or, tell them to shut up. Um, I sometimes ask them like, could you please be quiet? So
What would they respond? Would they say like no?
yeah, they say no, and um, they the ones I've been hearing lately, because I am on medicine, but
Mhm.
I do still experience symptoms. So we're trying to find a medicine to help a little more than what I'm on right now.
That works the
Uh,
best.
that works the best.
I appreciate you coming on here. It's really interesting to hear anyone talk about their experience because I've spoken to at least, let's see, I think 5 or 6 schizophrenics so far. I've even spoken to a guy who he was an engineer back in the 90s, and he told me about an experience he had in his own room where like a portal manifested on his ceiling and he would see things come out of it. And he even drew what he saw, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that is so interesting. And the way like a lot of schizophrenic artists describe it is it does feel incredibly real, like it's appearing to you and you're seeing it, and it's even talking coherently like in sentences, right? Because I
Mhm.
used to assume, based off movies and what the medical industry says, I thought it was just word salad when the hallucinations would talk to the schizophrenics. I always assumed it was just random words, but it's like sentences. And I'm like, that is interesting.
Yeah, a lot of movies don't really depict schizophrenia the way it actually is. Um, it makes it makes it out to be um, more harmful to others than it actually is. like the scary movies that the schizophrenia person always is the person that hurts everybody and
It's crazy or
um
something.
yeah,
Mhm.
so um we are not like that. I've I've talked to some very kind people with schizophrenia, and um I like to think that I'm kind. um so yeah, sometimes I don't like the way the movies
Right.
portray schizophrenia or schizophrenics.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, talking to the few schizophrenics I have, I mean, you guys are really chill to talk to and very open-minded. I do like that we can talk about like different ideas and
Mhm.
spirituality, afterlife, what really exists out there. So definitely not like the movies portray you guys or like the news, right? You guys are normal people, right? You have interests, you have talents. You're not like, some crazy person in a psych ward just making noises. You just see
Right.
things differently, you hear things differently. Um, what would you like people to know about schizophrenia that many people don't know, or maybe many people don't fully understand about your guys' conditions?
I think the one thing that people don't fully understand is, for me, the people around me, it's hard to understand delusions. Um, like, I have had this delusion where I was abducted by aliens as a child, and it was very hard for people to understand that I truly believed that. That was something that I experienced and remembered, and something that I will never forget. And for me, I don't feel like that belief will ever fully go away because I have a memory of experiencing that.
Because
And
it's so real.
yes, it was so real. And I used to think when I was younger that it was me being born into the world, and that the aliens were the ones who brought me into the world, is what I believed. And it's a very hard thing to shake. It's a very hard thing to um, just, some people are like, just don't believe it, you know? But
Except
it's
as a
very,
delusion, right? Or something that didn't really happen or a dream, because sometimes you can tell the difference between just a regular dream and something that feels very real, right? There's some kind of line that's being drawn right there. Like
yes.
even for people without schizophrenia, like myself, for example, I have experienced sleep paralysis where I've seen shadow people. And I've never had a dream where it felt so realistic. Like I felt the shadow person on top of me, like looking down
Mhm.
on me, and I can feel its energy. And I hear these static buzzing noise whenever it would happen. And I'm not schizophrenic, and many people experience those kinds of things. So I think most people just dismiss these types of situations.
Yeah. I do think schizophrenia is something that's very hard to understand, anyways.
Mhm.
Um, and there are some aspects of it that um, people just most people, it's hard for them to understand until you've experienced it yourself, which is most things. Um, so i I do would like people to educate themselves more about it before they um, because I've had a lot of people come to me and try to fix me. So I would like people to just, before you try to fix somebody, maybe learn a little bit about them
Listen
and
to them.
don't make them feel like they need to be fixed, because, we're human beings, and um, we don't need to be fixed. We just need to be loved and cared for and
Mhm.
understood.
Yeah, that's what I realized. Sometimes the best advice is no advice at all and just like an ear to listen to, just somebody
Hmm.
there to fully hear you out. Because that's what most people want is two things: to be heard and to be understood, right? And
Yes.
most people can't do that, right? If they hear you out, well, they're not trying to understand you, right? Or they don't try to
Hmm.
do either of those things. So if more people try to hear you out and understand, or if more people try to hear others out and understand them, I think the world would be a better place. instead of making
Yeah.
assumptions, right? Because that's why I love talking to schizophrenics. I'm curious, like, what are you guys experiencing? Like, I have my own assumptions of what it might be, what it can be, but I'm curious to hear from your guys' point of view. What is it like?
Mhm. Yeah, and that's something that uh I think that I really appreciate when people do try to understand it better and understand me better, because um, there are things I say and do that may not be what your average person would do or say. And it's hard for people to understand, and they just kind of look at you like a freak. And, you know, it's it's hard to it's hard to feel misunderstood.
Mm-hmm. What would you like for people in the medical industry to know about your condition or psychiatry that sometimes they misunderstand, right? Because there's sometimes an assumption that just because they have a degree that they fully understand your guys' situation. What would you like for them to know or for people working in these industries?
I would like for them to know that um, medication does not fix everything. Um, you can't just slap on 11 medications and someone will feel better, um, or they'll be cured. Um, so I would just like people to know that, like when you take medication and then you have symptoms, you know, people just people are like, well, you got to take your medication, but sometimes the medication doesn't help everything. It doesn't help all of the paranoia, all of the,
Fear.
characteristics that you have. I'm very messy. It's hard for me to take showers sometimes. And the medicine just doesn't fix everything. And I would like them to have more patience.
Because sometimes they feel like they're impatient and they're trying to slap medication on you and just, go on
Yes, I've,
their
I've
way.
had doctors in the past just try to not try to actually help me, um, but just give me a ton of medicine and just be like, well, that should fix you.
Not even try to talk to you more, hear you out a little bit. They just give you medication and send you on your merry way.
Yeah. So, but as of right now, I have a really good program that I'm in.
That's good.
So I do feel like it's the treatment that I really needed the whole time.
Is
So
it, is it more like a social program where you go to therapy, you talk with people?
yes, it's called the I Hope program.
Mm.
It's for psychosis, schizophrenia, schizoaffective, um, things like that. So I see a therapist and a psychiatrist, and they also have a peer support.
That's awesome. And do you guys have like group therapy too, where a bunch of other schizophrenics get together and talk with each other?
No, we don't have group therapy. I wish we did. It would be nice to see someone face to face, um, that does have schizophrenia and just have a chat with them and just, I like to make light of it sometimes, make little jokes and,
Mhm.
um, you know, so, um, I always think of the meme, the sure Jan. Like when I
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
people I saw something and I feel like their face is like, sure Jan.
I mean, it'd be pretty cool to like if there was like a podcast just with a bunch of schizophrenic artists and content creators and they're just all discussing it. That'd be a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, it would. It would be really, I think it would be super fun.
Yeah. Um, if you don't mind talking about this, what are your what's the word? What are your beliefs on the afterlife or spirituality? What do you think exists out there, if anything exists outside of this physical life?
Um, I've had so many different ideas and beliefs. I would say I like for the longest time I did believe that, you know, there were aliens that created us and, brought me into this world, and I was getting signs from them that they were gonna come back and bring me back. Um, So that is something that I consider. I like to have a really open mind about it. Uh, I'm always open to new ideas, new um, suggestions, and stuff like that. So yeah. Uh, um, so yeah.
Um, what would you like for there to exist if you had the choice, like an afterlife or some kind of spiritual world?
I would love for there to be. Have you seen Lovely Bones?
Yes. Oh my goodness.
I
That
would
movie's so
love
sad.
for it is very sad, but I would love for the afterlife to be that big field of warm sunshine and that big tree and
Plants and
um,
flowers.
yeah, and flowers and um, in the movie, the people who had also been victims were there with her, and I think that was a beautiful thing. I think that was a beautiful thing to put in the movie. So
Yeah.
I would like it to be like that, you know, maybe like everyone's own personal
Garden almost, or like a
garden. Yeah.
like the Garden of Eden type place, right? Where it's just beautiful
Hmm.
plants and it's at peace and there's love. Uh, as a kid, I always imagined like the afterlife or heaven or whatever to be something like the movie What Dreams May Come. Do you remember that movie?
Yes, where it's paint.
Yes, it's paint and there's like flowers around. And it's just super cool. That'd be pretty nice.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that movie's
Uh,
beautiful, man. That was made awesome.
that was an awesome movie, and I think I've only seen it twice because I it just made me so emotional. But I'll definitely watch it again soon. The paint concept is absolutely amazing. To be in your own wonderful painting, and it would be awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting that ideas of like the afterlife or heaven are kind of the same for people in terms of what they want there to be, right? What people want,
Mhm.
like an example is people want love, they want wisdom, they want a place where everyone's at peace, where there's nature. That's a common like concept that people kind of imagine when they think of heaven, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think that is interesting too. I think deep down, most of us want the same things.
Yep.
When we think of heaven. I think we just want there to be an overwhelmingly amount of love and kindness because there's so much unkindness around us. And it would be nice to just have that peace at mind knowing this place is safe and this place is somewhere where people will always be kind.
And love each other and there'll be nature around. Yeah. It's interesting. It's the same idea or like the same desire, right? When it comes to
Mm-hmm.
happiness. What has schizophrenia taught you that you didn't know before about yourself, I guess?
About myself. Well, it's taught me a lot of healing. I know I've experienced some of the scariest things that I didn't even know my mind would ever come up with or would ever show me or say. And but it's also taught me that I can heal from those things and I can heal from my past traumas and I can heal from anything. And it's taught me that I have the strength, that I'm strong, basically.
That's
How
awesome.
strong.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on here. I really appreciate you taking your time and being nice to me to let me interview you. For those of you who want to check out her content, her art and music, I'll post all the links down in the bio below. Again, B, thank you so much. And we are out.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.